Hi everyone, my name is Swaroop and I'm one of the co-founders of PowerLoom. Very excited to be here. It was actually at, so Anomit is my co-founder. We have both been in the Web3 space for about 5 years. We started with building a developer tool called BlockVisual, and actually ETHIndia was the last ETHIndia, I think, 2019,
Yeah.
when we first launched it. And since then, we have gone on to build RPCs for Matic before they were Polygon. And it's kind of the idea of PowerLoom also came along there. So we saw a lot of developers, and especially like the larger dApps and companies, using the RPC, a lot of in-house indexing, and like trying to extract that data on-chain and consume it in whether it's for their own use or whether it was for developers. And there was no transparency. There was also very centralized, right? So we started thinking about how can we solve this problem. And so that's where the PowerLoom idea sort of kicked off. It's kind of funny because we actually presented one of the first use cases at a ETH Global Hackathon.
Yeah.
So it's very, very dear to us to be able to do this. Also sponsor for the very first time, open up our APIs to you guys. So nice to have you all here. So I'm going to just maybe quickly walk through about what PowerLoom does, talk about the bounties, and then Anomit, my co-founder, is going to take over, show you maybe how to use some of the APIs. So we also have a bit of, we are open sourcing something today. That's probably our first major product. And he might give a little bit of an overview. If you guys want to get your hands dirty, that's one of the things you could probably attempt for this hackathon. Okay, so PowerLoom aggregates data from on-chain sources and turns it into snapshots that can be consumed and be stored in a way that's already decentralized from day one, right? So our larger goal is to turn it into a network of its own, where developers like you could propose data sets, people could snapshot it, or you could also be a snapshot of your own. And in the end, the network could incentivize people who want to either consume or even take part in the network. So to just showcase what the current stage of our protocol does, we built this use case called Pooler. And that is actually going to be the focus for what we are doing at this hackathon as well. So Pooler is based off Uniswap V2 smart contracts. We are also supporting V3, but for today's use case, we're just going to focus on V2. So the idea is that you can, I'm just going to show you one of these front-end systems. You can actually check out this code. Anomit will probably walk you through it. So if you've tried DEXs like Uniswap, like SushiSwap, QuickSwap, so on all these EVM chains, so you must have noticed that they all have like an analytics tool, right? So because you have all these markets, now all of this data is on chain as an end user or as a trader or as a developer who wants to build on it. So it's very complex, right? So we have sort of shown how the protocol works. So as you can see here, we are sort of snapshotting the data for all about 180 pairs or so, Anomit, like for different ETH and other tokens, and we snapshot that data, aggregate that data, and which is what you see here as liquidity, volume, fees. So you can also check that it's actually not, I mean, hopefully the Wi-Fi works, but look at it if this same data set is being stored on what we call, hot storage. So we use IPFS because that is already decentralized storage mechanism for people to pull in. So if you actually run an IPFS node, you can pull this exact same CID as well. So anyway, I'll let it not worry about the Wi-Fi right now. And we store the proof on a chain right now just to show that when the snapshot was taken place. So this you can check it out from our website. So let me quickly walk you through. So let's see, after Pooler, let's see, okay. So let's go through maybe the bounties that we are offering. This is actually the first time we are doing this as well. So our goal is to provide about $10,000 in total bounties. So first prize, 4,000, second prize, 3,000, and the third prize being 2,000. But if you want to allocate an additional amount for anyone who's willing to attempt, right? Because it's also, we recognize it's the first time we are presenting to the developer audience. So if you're able to even use this in your existing project, we would love to help you out. And if you really are keen on building, taking that open source code base, Anumit's going to walk you through more in detail. So we will help you and give you a grant after this hackathon as well. So don't think that this is the, the end of the runway. Okay. So there are two ways to do this. So I'll just very quickly go over it. So one is, we have turned what I've shown you as a Pooler use case, and we've given out some centralized APIs so that it's very easy for you guys to consume it for the hackathon case. So you essentially look at the API docs. Anomit will walk you through this as well. Yeah. Get an API key. We have built a simple dashboard for you guys. And then come and try out one of these three ideas. So these are just references. You don't have to work on these three different ideas, right? So we are just suggesting that this is few things you could build. Or if you are, someone who knows how to write hardcore code, you want to go into the low-level stuff, check out what Polar does, and maybe build your own use case on top of our protocol. So we are opening that up as well. So we recognize the snapshotting process might be a lot more complex, so we're actually providing a hosted instance, so you can just play around with the Polar code base. So anyway, Anumit's going to probably go more in detail. Yeah. And yeah, I think in terms of the URL, it's powerloom.io ETHIndia 22. That should take you to this Notion page. And if not, you guys can probably go through your Devfolio and ETH Global prizes list. So this link is there as well. Okay, Anumit, over to you.
Yeah, all right.
You want to start with this one?
Sure,
Yep.
we'll start. Okay, I'm not sure how loud I should talk. Is this like fine? Never. Okay, fine. All right. So yeah, speaking of the hackathon topics, right? Like there are a couple of categories where we have broadly divided this. So one is like you use the kind of pre-rendered API endpoints that we have for Uniswap version 2 data, along with a couple of other protocols. What you need to do right now is before you go into these integration ideas, I want you to take a look at the API docs. So where do you find the API docs is you just scroll up over here and you'll find the API docs over here, right over here. So I go over there.
It's there in the first one.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. So yeah, one of the things that you first need to do is like you gotta get API key, right? This is the very first step. Obviously, I'll come to the Postman collection after this. You have a dashboard that we are doing like a self-serve. You go register, you get an API key. I hope that's visible over there. So this is the API key that you are going to use to interact with the endpoints, including in this Postman collection, right? So these Postman collection APIs, they specifically refer to the first category of integration ideas. Let me quickly load those up. I don't know what is up with the, sure. So these are the ones these are like DeFi data hacks. So some things that you can build that you already have data on top of Uniswap v2 protocols, analytical tool, LP API comparison. So I would not go so much deep into it. These are like very well documented by one of our team members who is a DeFi specialist. So he has given you a good resource to get started with, good architecture that you can always refer. So my point here is to kind of show you the JSON responses from the APIs. I'll go straight into it so that you can take a look at what these data points actually serve, right? And the ideas, then you can go into the examples that we have compiled it for you to get started with. So let me just shift to Postman quickly. How is the display coming? Okay, awesome. There are a few important endpoints. Like what you can see over here is the Postman collection. It already has placeholders where the base URL is set to one of those instances that we have included in the API docs. And a token contract address, for example. Like what is a token contract address in Uniswap version 2? Like there are ERC20 contracts. They come together to form a certain pair contract address. So this is the individual token contract address, ERC20. As you can see that it comes with all the information already attached to it, right? So this is where things like building API, token trackers, liquidity trackers becomes really easy. Now, if I go over here, this is something that is known as the daily stats sort of thing. So as you can see, this is a very short endpoint. It gives you some idea of the trade volume over 24 hours. And when we say previous value, like if you read through a little bit of our documentation, you'll see that we do a snapshot-based thing. Like even what you're seeing as a trade volume of 24 hours, we always take a snapshot of where the last value was so that we can give you what exactly was the change percentage. If I go to the next one, this is possibly one of the most important endpoints. This is the biggest summary endpoint that you will get. It's like close to 85 pairs, I guess. That, yeah, thanks for zooming in. Just can you stretch that up a bit?
Yeah, just zoom it up. Zoom out.
No, it's not stretching. All right. regardless, like what I'm looking at is like a JSON object of 185 pair contract addresses with their liquidity, their trade volumes over 24 hours, over 7 days, and then there are some IPFS CIDs associated with these data sets. So it's not like you always have to rely on constantly calling the V2PS. So you can build this into, if you're building a front end, right? You can have these responses cached. You can use some IPFS helper libraries, right? Which speeds up the fetches of these data sets, makes your dashboard or whatever tool you're building, the rendering of it, it becomes much, much easier, right? So, like, I could walk you through quite a few things, but here are the main points of using these data points is that you have access to a history of changes. That is what I'm trying to showcase to you over here. That when you start querying these endpoints, what you start seeing is a change of snapshots. Like as you can see that over here when I'm querying something called V2P's recent event logs, right? Like, okay, what has been the swap event? What has been the mint event, right? You get a JSON object like this, you run a filter over it on that event key, right? So you get a data set that has already been recorded, how it has changed over time, and you can start filtering based on basically your needs. If you just want to show mint events, you could just go for it on this endpoint. And yeah, definitely there's the summary data point over here where you just pass like a very specific pair contract address, right? All right. Yeah. And yeah, but most importantly, like I really like the third idea over here and the protocol hacks. I would really appreciate if someone picks up these, the number 3 or the one after protocol hacks. This is where you will see that we are already kind of giving you a centrally hosted sort of pooler code that you can see that's running on these endpoints that we showed you, right? Uniswap V2 overview, like you see this over here. This is the code that's already open sourced, and if you just go over here, you can see the entire architecture setup. How do you hack into the pooler code base? It's all available over here, and most importantly, like the part about maintaining snapshots, having the changes tracked across time, that is already taken care of. You just have to enter this like one simple settings key. That should take care of everything, right? So it's the same API key that I have on my self-serve dashboard. That is enough for me to get started, right? Over here, this API key. So when I take a look over here, this is the API key. This also will help you in hacking into the Pooler code base. What we're looking for is that we already have certain data points over Uniswap's V2 style AMM dexes that are being served. We want something else other than this. That would be the best thing that could come out of this. Or you could come up with a new snapshot service altogether. Like there were people asking about Curve Finance or other protocols.
Compound,
so
Aave.
Compound, Aave, you could pick anything that you would like to hack on and follow what we have in the README as a proper architecture. So you have a full overview along with architectural documentation and code references, which will take you to the right place within the code where things are working, right? I think this is
Yeah, we'll
signed.
have
What the hell?
No. It's pointing to the internal repo. We'll have to edit that out.
Okay. We will fix the
well,
links. That's not a cause of worry. But
There's also the
the
white
rest of the
paper.
code
I wanted to point out.
is already available. Regardless, the repo is open sourced. We will fix the links.
Come
so
down.
sorry about
I wanted
that.
to show the white.
Yeah.
No, the white paper. No, that's not going to work on. So there's also this, if you really want to, maybe after the hackathon, right? So you could go through the white paper. So there's this reference. It's available on our the
Homepage as well.
Homepage as well. So this really goes into what is PowerLoom aiming to do, where are we at today, and how did we get here, and what is, Pooler being one of the examples, and hopefully someone in this audience can probably build our next use case. Anyway, once the Wi-Fi gets fixed, that's the way to go about it. Okay.
Yeah, it's loaded.
All right. So let's go back to the I was thinking let's maybe go through the bounties again and just talk about.
Yeah, sure. Kind of
Yeah.
reiterating.
So I think I mentioned in the beginning, so we are giving away $10,000 in bounty. So this is just a rough variation of how we are trying to divide it, but it will be completely up to you. If you have more people do a fantastic job, we are happy to even give a grant after the hackathon. So don't worry about this in terms of effort being given. And even if you're just you're a completely new developer, I love to mentor different hackathons. Like I'm actually not based out of India, so I usually travel for many of these hackathons. So I've met a lot of people. So if you're one of those, so don't worry about it. Don't get overwhelmed by what we sort of went through. So even if you're able to play around with the APIs and sort of build something very, very simple, we would be happy to give you small. So that's what we have set up as a common price pool. So as long as you successfully integrate even a single API endpoint, we're happy to give you a price for that. And for those who want to challenge yourself, we have the categories here.
I'm really looking forward to the protocol acts, like people coming up with
I think we can open up for questions if people have
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
I want to
if you
leave
have
about
questions,
10 minutes for that.
let's leave some time for that.
Yeah, we have some time. Okay. Is there a mic we can pass it on for the questions?
I'm not sure if there are questions. No, I don't think so.
I actually can't hear, but let's see. My eyes are closed.
Okay. Not seeing any questions.
No questions?
If we don't have any
Then we can
questions,
go through the integration ideas maybe a little more. If you want to show like, hey, to inspire people, what you could do with the LPI thing. We have some about 5-10 minutes. Are there any questions? Just maybe. I can't see actually so clearly.
Even I can't really see.
Lights blocking.
No.
No? Okay. So we'll just go through maybe some of these integration ideas. Do you want to? Did you cover the first one? I think you covered the first one.
I covered the first
So
one.
let's go
Okay,
through this one.
All right. One of the things that I don't know if you noticed that we have 3 different endpoints open that are being snapshotted for you, right?
For an example, the endpoints, you want to open the endpoints or?
No, hold on. So if you go back to the main page, right, like let's show you the endpoints that we have open for you, right?
The docs. Calm down. These ones. These ones.
Yeah.
The basic ones.
So the Postman collection is already built for you to place this in. What this will help you with is when you actually end into this LP API idea, if you end up taking this up, the idea is to use these 3 different API endpoints that we already offer you. Use that, come up with a certain sort of comparison, see what you have from the last 24 hours fees that are generated, right? And usually this is the formula used. If you're not familiar with DeFi, do not worry about it. We do have people who are pretty experienced in DeFi and tokenomics. You can always ask them, and we will make sure that even if you don't know much about DeFi, you can build out the data points that can come up with a unique use case, right? The idea is to also learn something while you're at it. So it's not just about code. You get to learn a little bit about finance also, right? Like it's a thing that you should learn regardless, right? So the API one I like, but also one of my most favorite ideas happens to be the DEX aggregator over here. So here, you have the same 3 different APIs that you have, right? Like Uniswap, SushiSwap, and QuickSwap APIs, right? And this becomes a place where you have the current price of the token fetched from different dexes, right? Why would you think you do that? There is something that, I don't know if you've heard, there's something called arbitrage, right? Like, how would you use this for arbitrage, right? If you do not know these terms, it's really a good study in just understanding finance and game theory itself. So I would highly suggest like the DEX aggregator is a very good place to start learning about it. You can even, there are a lot of good YouTube talks on these financial topics. You can definitely go check them out. So yeah, we have once more to reiterate 3 endpoints that are served for you, right? There, QuickSwap, SushiSwap, and Uniswap V2, right? Do go ahead, do check them out.
I'm just showing them a
sure.
front end that shows all these things, but you will be using the APIs.
These are the front ends that are using the same APIs that are included in the Postman collection. So like you can see the possibilities are quite a few. You can build your front ends, you can build insights, you can build report tools, like just go as creative as you want to, right? Like you have all sorts of data points that are available to you. It's a good place to start learning all about, decentralized finance, how data moves across blockchain, learning how to build data generation tools, insights, reports, etc. Right?
So we'll also be on Discord if you guys
Yeah,
have
we are on
questions.
Discord.
Right, so the team is there. So we have a booth right in the middle of it. So if you see between, I think, Nosso Safe and Ether Spot or one of the teams there.
Spot.
So look for us, come and ask questions if you want to ask in person. So if you don't see us there at the booth, then we'll be on the sponsor PowerLoom Discord on your ETH Global Discord, right? So go check it out. And yeah, I think that's about it. If there's any questions, we can go over it. Otherwise, we should be good to go. So if you have trouble setting up the hacker dashboard or something, it should be pretty straightforward. You just sign in with your email. It should give you the API key. Anything you wanted to go over the code, maybe? No?
I mean,
if
it
someone
would be
wants to
good
go
to
over
have some feedback
questions,
from
right?
the
Yeah. Otherwise, we can wrap it
listeners.
up.
I'm not sure who's having a question.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Then
So
let's wrap it up.
cool. I guess since there are no questions, we have gone over kind of the open integration ideas and protocol hacks. Do go through it. We'll be waiting to hear from you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Happy
you.
hacking.